Hey guys, so in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can use Gumloop to extract data and understand any PDF document. And the best part is we don't need N8N, we don't need an API, we don't need an HTTP request. All of this can be handled natively inside of Gumloop. All right, let's walk through exactly how this works. So we're going to take this dummy PDF document. Let's say we're a Facebook ads agency. We're reporting out on a client, and we've got some info here in this report about a campaign breakdown, spend, clicks, impressions, all this data that's tied up in this PDF. So what's going to happen is I'm going to run this flow, and Gumloop is going to read that file in Google Drive. It's going to pass it on to the native PDF OCR reader. Then we're going to use AI to extract some key information from the PDF, like link clicks, CTR, conversions. Then we're going to pass that on to another Ask AI node, which is going to generate a report for us with this key information. And then it's going to send us a message directly inside of Slack. When it's done, there we go. So we've got the ad campaign report, the campaign overview with all of our key metrics, and a performance analysis done entirely in Gumloop by extracting all of the information out of the PDF. So shout out to Nate Herc and his YouTube channel. I saw this idea. He was running it through N8N. He was using Mistral and an HTTP request with their API. And it wasn't complicated, but I figured we could do this inside of Gumloop just to show you a different way. I find Gumloop to be significantly more user-friendly. So let's do the same idea, but let's just make it easier. So let me just walk you through the flow real quick, and then we'll build it out step by step. So again, the use case is we're a Facebook ads management agency, and we're reporting out to clients on different campaigns and different stats. And what happens is this flow is triggered just by dropping a PDF document into a Google Drive folder. So you can see that this entire automation is kicked off with a Google Drive trigger. Then that document is sent to our PDF OCR reader, which is going to extract all of the content out of that PDF. Then we're sending that content, which is just a big data dump, right? It's just one big blob of text. We're sending that to an extract data AI node, which is going to pull out specific pieces of information that we specify, like the campaign name and the conversions and the CTR, all right, specific data that we're looking for in the report. Then we're going to pass that data on to an AI node who is going to generate a nice written report based on information that we're asking for, okay? And then that report is going to get sent to us directly into Slack automatically with all of the information that we need so we can get it inside of Slack. All right, so let's build this out inside of Gumloop. If you haven't heard of Gumloop before, it is a much more user-friendly alternative to Make.com and N8N. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but it is significantly better to use in my opinion. So I'm inside of my hub right now, and we're going to create this flow from scratch. So let me just hit new flow. That's going to open up a beautiful looking canvas here, and we need to start with our trigger. So in this example, we are using a Google Drive reader. So the workflow is whoever's working on this automation on your team just drops a file right into Google Drive and it automatically kicks off. So to add our first node, I go into my node library and search for Google Drive. And what we want here is a folder reader. So again, anytime a new file is dropped into our folder, and it's going to drag it onto our canvas like this. So if you have not hooked up your Google account to Gumloop yet, you've got to do that, but it's single sign-on and takes just a second. So the first thing we want to do is activate this as a trigger. Okay, so this is going to kick off the entire automation. The next thing you want to do is select the folder for the automation. So you can see here, I've got this PDF OCR folder. And so I'm going to select that right inside of Gumloop so I can see now we are activated as the flow trigger, and I've got my PDF OCR folder selected. All right, so what we want to do next is read the PDF document. And the good news is Gumloop has a native integration with a PDF OCR reader. We don't need Mistral. We don't need any APIs or HTTP requests. We can do this all in Gumloop. So I'm going to go back to my node library here and search for PDF. And what I'm going to go for here is the OCR reader, just in case the PDF text needs to be OCR'd. So let's drag that onto our canvas like that. And the first thing that I'm going to do is connect the output of Google Drive. So the documents that are being dropped in, I'm going to connect that to the input of the PDF OCR reader. And this is really easy to set up. Gumloop makes it really intuitive. So the first thing that I need is the file name or the file from Google Drive. And you can see on the right-hand side here, Gumloop is showing me the inputs I have available. So it really is as simple as dragging and dropping that file output, which is now an input, into our file name. You can choose your image model preference, but I'm going to leave this as GPT-4o Mini Vision. And now what's going to happen is I can save this. I can also rename this. So with that saved, we can test this flow just by hitting run. What Gumloop is going to do is take the file that's inside of Google Drive, and it's going to run it through this PDF OCR reader so we can test if our flow is working. So what we can do is go to the Google Drive folder reader, look at all inputs and outputs. So this is the file that it's outputting, this Facebook ad performance PDF. So that worked successfully. And then for the PDF OCR reader, again, I can see all the inputs and all the outputs. So the file was this PDF, and what it's going to output is the contents of the PDF document. So you can see it's reading the entire PDF and it's outputting it as one big block of text. Okay, next we want to pull out specific bits and pieces of this PDF to analyze and to write a report, because there's a lot going on in this document and we don't really need all of it. For this example, I'm going to pull out specific metrics around the campaign breakdown, but how do we do that inside of Gumloop? Okay, so I'm going to go back to my node library and I'm going to look for an extract data node, which you can see is right here under using AI. So let's drag this onto the canvas, close that out. And what I'm going to do is drag the output of the PDF OCR reader directly into the input of extract data. And now what you can see is it's asking for the content to extract from, right? So it's going to be the output of that PDF, which I can see is right here now as an input. So I can just drag and drop that right over there. And now what we want to do is define with these add data fields here. We want to define exactly what bits and pieces of information we want to pull out of this PDF. So again, I'm going to be focusing on some of the information in this little block right here, just as an example. Obviously, you could pull out whatever you wanted to. Additional context, I'm going to leave that as blank. And now here is where we can start to add our data. So I'm going to click add data. And the first bit that I'm going to pull out is the campaign name. And you can see when I add that as a data field, it's going to be available to me as an output in the next step. So the type is going to be text. And if you wanted to be more descriptive for the AI to try to steer it in the right direction, you could give it a description as well. All right, so for the rest of this node, it's the same exercise. We just want to add those pieces of data one by one. So I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. The next one that we want to grab is the spend. The type here is going to be a number. And again, I'll leave the description blank. Then the next one I want to grab from our PDF is the impressions. Again, type can be text there. The next piece of data we're going to grab here are the link clicks. And for this type, we can change this to number. Then I want the CTR of the campaign. So I'm going to paste that in there as name. And for the type, I'm going to change that one to number. And then for the final one, I'm going to grab conversions. And what you'll notice about conversions on our table here is it's not just a number by itself. There is some text after that. And so just to provide a little bit more context for the AI, this is where the description can come in handy. I'm going to tell it it's the number of conversions and types, and then give it an example. So you can steer the AI in the direction you want to go with that description. But otherwise, this node looks pretty good. And if you want to test the extract data step, what you can do is come into resume at the top, and this will let you continue the flow from the PDF OCR Reader step. So I'm going to click resume from here. And what's going to happen is it's going to run the output of the PDF reader directly through the extract data node. So you can come into all inputs and outputs. Again, you can see the input, which was the one big page of text here, and what the extract data node, right? So these are all the data fields that we specified, like the campaign name. So you can see it nailed the campaign name, the conversions, 50, and it did the format that I asked for, 50 purchases. So all of the information, all the output is here for you to check just to make sure that that node is working properly before you move on. All right, now that we have our data, what I want to do is kind of turn that data into a mini report, or not necessarily a report, but just kind of an email or a Slack message that's going to summarize it nicely. And what I'm going to use for that is an AI node here, just called Ask AI. So let's drag this one onto my canvas here. And what I'm going to do is connect the output of the previous node, the extract data node, and drag it into the input here for the Ask AI. And again, what you'll see happen when I make that connection is all of that data here is now available as input for the Ask AI node. So this is basically ChatGPT that's just baked right into Gumloop, although you can obviously choose your model, and actually we'll choose Claude 3.7 for this. So you can prompt this model with context, right? And we've got this nice prompt field here. So what I'm going to say is create a concise, nicely formatted report of this ad campaign using the following information. And I'm going to drag in all of our output here, right? So I've got the campaign name, I've got the spend. So this is me feeding the AI, or if you want to think about it like ChatGPT, all of the context for the prompt that I'm giving it, all right? It's just drag and drop with Gumloop. And so you can see now I've got a prompt with a nicely formatted report. I might put for Slack because when I tested this earlier, it didn't perfectly format it. I didn't really try that hard, but let's do generate a concise, nicely formatted report. I'm going to say for a Slack message, maybe that will help, of this ad campaign using the following information. And then again, this is all the context for our prompt that's coming from the previous node. For the AI model, we're going to use Sonnet. And now that output we'll be able to send directly into Slack. All right, so the last step for this demo, we're going to use Slack. You could have any message system. You could send an email. You could do whatever, really. But I'm going to have this output go into our Slack channel. So let me just come back to the node library. And what we want here is a message sender. So let me grab that here, drag that onto our canvas. And again, I can drag the output from our Ask AI right into Slack. And now for the message, and you could choose a thread ID or attachments. I'm not going to touch that right now. All I want is the message itself. And for that message, I'm going to grab the response from the Ask AI node. And then you want to choose your channel here. So I'm just going to select Gumloop demos. So the AI message will be sent into this specific Slack channel, and we are looking good. All right, so we're ready to test this entire flow. I've created a brand new dummy PDF document. So what I'm going to do is drag that into our Google Drive folder and then see if it ends up sending a message to us in Slack. So here's the Google Drive folder. I've got a brand new file, as I mentioned, right here. So it's similar, but for a different quote unquote client. So let's drop that in, wait for it to upload, and I can go into my Gumloop run history here and refresh to see if it kicked it off yet. All right, so you can see it's working, it's running, right? You can see the blue running sign. So I can collapse this and click View Run, and this will show me the live run of the document that I just submitted. You can see it's already done. It did all of the steps. Now, if I go into Slack, I can see I have a different report. So it did add emojis. I wonder if that is because I mentioned that it was for Slack. I'm not entirely sure. But you can see the spring gadget sale campaign report. We've got the performance here. Now let me pull up the actual PDF document. And as I pull up the PDF, I realized that I made a mistake in my prompt. So I'm going to leave this in just to show you how we can troubleshoot this. So you can see it's pulling for this first campaign, which is totally fine, the spring gadget sale. And some of the numbers match up, like impressions 900,000, impressions 900,000. But for example, it's showing clicks at 4,000 when it was really 13,500. So why is it doing that? Now, when I go back, the Gumloop flow over here, this is where the troubleshooting comes in and why it's so important to understand how this works in the sidebar here. Now, when I go to extract data, I can see it's pulling in all of the correct information over here, right? So link clicks is 13,500. Impressions are 900,000. But when I get to ask AI, what I realize is this is the information that it's getting without enough context, okay? So we can pull these up side by side. And again, the impressions, 900,000, but when you go to clicks, it's 4,000 when it should be 13,500. So what I think I need to do is instead of just dropping the field, I think this is where I erred in this example. I want to give it the actual context, right? Not just the field itself, but what is the field, right? What does the field actually mean? So let me try this. I think this will help. But this is all part of troubleshooting and finding out which node is kind of going off track, and then again, going in, and when it's an AI step, that's the thing about the AI nodes in any automation is if you're not clear enough in your prompts, you've got to go back and try to be more clear. So let me try to run this again. The file is already in here. Let me just try to run it and let's see if it grabs the correct document, which is this one over here. All right, so it is grabbing the Zenith one, which is the correct file, and it's going to go through all of the steps again, and we can compare the output to see if this prompting helped with the results. So it says it's done. Let's go into Slack. All right, so we've got the spring gadget sale campaign report again. Let me pull up the PDF, zoom out, and let's see if it matched. All right, so spend is 4,000, so it corrected itself there. Impressions, 900,000, link clicks, 13,500, CTR, 1.5, and then the purchases, 75 purchases. So that was my fault. That was bad prompting on my end. But again, I'm going to leave this in the video to show you what happens when things don't go right and how you can troubleshoot this in Gumloop. So all of the steps executed properly, but something happened to the data in the flow, and I was able to pinpoint it was because I had a poor prompt. I was giving it the data without any context, right? I was giving it the fields without telling it what the fields actually meant. But now that we've corrected it, we can see that it worked fine. So that's how you're able to use Gumloop to understand any PDF document. We don't need any APIs or N8N or Mistral or anything like that. It's all built natively into Gumloop. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments below what kind of AI automation you want to see next.